Okay, so we're on lesson 1.2, page 32, and there's some vocabulary that you need to know. And there's a lot of vocabulary on this one page that's going to be very important for you to know as you continue through these lessons. The first one is a relation. Now, a relation is a mapping of a set of values, inputs and output, domain and range. Okay, what is that? Well, let's take x plus 3 is equal to y, okay? And we'll put x's on this side and y's on this side, all right? Now, what we got going on here is we could put a number in here, that's a plus, and we're going to get an output, that's an input, and we're going to get an output on the other side. So if we put in 0, 0 plus 3 is 3. If we put in 1, 1 plus 3 is 4, and so on. Now, this mapping of the values, this is called a relation. Okay? Now there's another way you could map this relation. You could put it onto a graph. So let's say these are the x's and these are the y's. So again, let's go 0. So if x is 0, y is 3. If x is 1, y is 4. X is 2, y is 5. And you can see I'm graphing this. I'm creating, and it would go on like this. I'm creating this relation. Now, when you put in an x value or an input value, those values are your domain. So in this case, the x plus 3, we were putting in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're coming out with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. So the numbers that we're putting in, that's our domain. Now the numbers that come out, that is our range. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's our domain. And our range, well, 0 plus 3 is 3, 1, 4, etc. So this is our domain, and this is our range, what's coming out. Okay. All right, so what have we done so far? We have a relation, that's a mapping of the values. We can show that with the table, or we can show it with a graph. We have the domain, which is the numbers you're putting in, and we have the range, which is the numbers coming out. Now, a function is an equation, and it's kind of special in that if you put in a number, there's only one possible outcome out the other end. I know that sounds obvious, but there are some where you could put in a number and you can actually come out with 2 answers, and we'll do those a little later. But you can see, if I put in a 1 here, there's only one thing that's going to come out, it's a 4. You can't have a 5 come out, okay? You couldn't have like, well, it could be 4 and it could be 5. No, the answer is 4. If you put in a 2, the only answer that will come out is 5. Because of that, because if you put in one answer and you only get one, you put in one domain, you only get one range, one number coming out. This is a function, okay? Now, when you graph a function, if we were to graph x plus 3 equals y, there's something interesting about it, and it's this. When you graph it, let's go ahead and we'll connect the dots here. And you take a vertical line to that graph. I don't know why I had an L instead of come out, ignore that. When you put a vertical line across that graph, it only hits it once. only hits it once, only hits it once, only hits it once, only hits it once. So an easy way, if you have a graph in front of you, an easy way to tell if that is a function is just to put your hand like this, and if it only crosses the graph once, it's a function. Let me show you one that's not a function. And I think you can see right off the bat. This is an equation, and it graphs. It looks like this, but if you take a vertical line to that graph, how many times does it hit? Twice. This is not a function, okay? Twice. Twice. Once, twice. This thing is not a function. You can even have some, they're kind of interesting, that when you graph them, you have an equation and you graph it, it looks like this, it looks like an S. And again, you can see how that would fail. Whoops. You can see how that would fail the vertical line test. Oh, cool. Dollar signs. This is not a function because it fails the vertical line test. A vertical line hits once, twice, and 3 times. So, suggestion, you might want to write these down. You might want to put them someplace that's convenient because they're going to pop up until you're comfortable with these and you know them cold, okay? To the point that if I say a function, you know that that's going to pass the vertical line test, and an input is only going to result in one output. You know which side the domain is, you know which side the range is. Like I said, you want to know these just like you know your telephone number or your social. All right, great.